there, everybody, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Lessons with Guitar Man. My name's Aaron, and I'll be your designated driver here today for this really cool tune, Sawing on the Strings. Alright, now Sawing on the Strings is a traditional song. I originally heard this back on YouTube like 10-15 years ago when Alison Krauss was playing it live with Tony Rice, Stuart Duncan, and on and on and on. I just thought it was a really neat sounding song, and then I went and listened to a bunch of other versions with like Ricky Skaggs, a really cool one with Tony Rice singing it on a David Grisman CD. And basically what I did was take all those versions and sort of mix them up my own way, and this is what I came up with. You'll notice that I did do a low break in there down here, and then I went up and did a high break just to give it a little variation and give you something else to work towards when you're learning this tune. So let's go ahead and dive right in there and see what makes this thing work. All right, so starting on measure number 1, what we're going to have here is an open, open, 2, open, open, 2, followed by a 4, open, 2, 4. And that whole measure together is going to sound like so. 1, 2, ready, go. Okay. And moving on to measure number 2, what you're going to have here is a 5, 4, 5, 3, 5, 4, 5, 3, followed by a 5, which is a half note, and that whole measure together is going to sound like so. 1, 2, ready, go. All right, and moving on to measure number 3 now, what we're going to have here is a 3, 3, 3, 5, 3, and again that was 3, 3, 3, 5, 3, and the last note is a 4. Okay, and that whole measure together is going to sound like so. 1, 2, ready, go. All right, and moving on to measure number 4 now, what we're going to have is a 5, 3, 4, 3, 2. And that's a 5, 3, 4, 3, 2. And that whole measure together is going to sound like so. 1, 2, ready, go. All right, so let's go ahead now and play from measures 1 through measure number 4 slowly and see what that sounds like. So 1, 2, ready, go. And moving on to measure number 5 now, what you're going to see is measure number 5 is exactly the same as measure number 1, so there's nothing new to learn there. And measure number 6 is exactly the same as measure number 2, so there's nothing new to learn there. And measure number 7 is almost the same as measure number 3, but what you'll notice is the last note is a 5 instead of a 4 in measure number 3. So measure number 7 is going to sound like so. 1, 2, ready, go. And then the last measure of the A section is going to be a 4, open, 2, 4, open. 4, open, 2, 4, open. All right, so let's go ahead now and play from measures 5 through measure number 8 slowly and see what that sounds like. So 1, 2, ready, go. Alright, so let's go ahead now and play through the entire A section slowly and see what that sounds like. So 1, 2, ready, go. So let's go ahead now and move on to the B section. Measure number 9 is going to start off with a 7, 7, 7, and then a 5, 3. So it's 7, 7, 7, 5, 3. And that whole measure together is going to sound like so. 1, 2, ready, go. Moving on to measure number 10, what we're going to have here is 2 3s, or you're going to bar the first 2 strings on the 10th fret like so. All right, and then you're going to hammer onto 5 while keeping these 2 barred down, and it's going to sound like so. It's going to sound like this. I like to do it with my pinky. You can use whatever finger you want. Okay, and then you're going to do 2 strums of the 3 5 3 5 like so. And that whole measure together is going to sound like this. 1, 2, ready, go. All right, and then moving on to measure number 11, what you're going to see here is measure number 11 is exactly the same as measure number 3, so there's nothing new to learn there. And then measure number 12, we only have one note there, which is going to be on the 2nd fret on the 3rd string, and that's right here, or the A note, and it's just going to be, hold that for 4 beats. All right, so let's go ahead now and play from measures 9 through measure number 12 slowly and see what that sounds like. So 1, 2, ready, go. And moving on to measure number 13, what you're going to see here, and it is exactly the same as measure number 1 and measure number 5, so there's nothing new to learn there. And measure number 14 is the same as measure number 2 and measure number 6, so there's nothing new to learn there. And measure number 15 is exactly the same as measure number 7, so there's nothing new to learn there. And then measure number 16 is exactly the same as measure number 8. In measure number 8, you just stop on an open G string or the 3rd string, whereas at the end of measure number 16, there's an open 1. And that measure together and measure number 16 is going to sound like so. 1, 2, ready, go. All right, and measure number 17 is going to be 2, open, 2, open, open, and then a strum of a partial G chord, like so. So that whole measure together is going to sound like so. 1, 2, ready, go. And then you just let that ring into the next measure, or measure number 18. And what I'd like to point out real quick there at the measure number 18 is it changes to 2/4 time. So let's go ahead now and play through the entire B section slowly and see what that sounds like. So 1, 2, you know what to do. All right, well, this is the point in the video where I ask my fellow YouTube subscribers to maybe come on over and check me out on Patreon. If you come over there, you can get exclusive access to the PDF files, the music, the tab, the iReal profiles, the guitar profiles, the backing tracks, and so much more information for this lesson and all the other lessons I've taught over at patreon.com/lessonswithguitarman. And most importantly, help support me to continue to make content for each and one of you fellow guitar enthusiasts out there. All right, well, there you have Sawing on the Strings, the low break and the high break. Some final thoughts on this tune for you. Looking at the low break first, in the A part, you basically have this. That's pretty straightforward. If you pay attention to the tab, you'll get that right away. But right here, there's kind of a neat little riff where we use flatted third here and move chromatic. It goes. So just kind of pay attention to that. It gives it a neat little sound. You could always do it this way too. Either way is fine, but I kind of like that that little move right there. And then kind of the second part of the low break, I do this. Just pay attention to that there. I guess that's kind of a Jimi Hendrix type double stop, or maybe a Skinner double stop. That thing there. And then you do. That's just your standard bluegrass run there at the end, your Skaggs run. I think that kind of sums up the A part there. Just be real patient with yourself. Try to follow the tab along really good with that, and I think you'll get this one in no time. All right, well, that's a wrap on this tune. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. If you have any questions for me, feel free to send me an email listed below in the description. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button because it really helps me out, and I'll be seeing you down the road.